Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks. Today we've got some bar candy for you today. Whoops, there's a little bit of a double word for you, but you might already recognize from the Viking hat that we've got representing our blue team here, the Malady themselves. Malady going to be representing our blue team. Definitely a well-earned Viking hat on that robot. A multiple-time champion. And someone that I'm always happy to cast a game that they've played, because they're almost always a banger. Apparently this one will be no different based on the description that I was given with this replay file, and so we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for this northern leader. Counter-opposed to the blue team, we have the red team spawning in the southern western section. We have our red team leader, Ancien going for a frontline bot lab position, going to be holding the line for the team to tech up or push out or do whatever they need to do. Look at that, Malady with the have fun, good luck to everyone. What a kind player. Knows that he's going to crush every single one of them and figures, you know what, the least I can do is give them the politeness of wishing them luck, wishing them to have fun. Oh boy, going for a bot lab here, and I'd be shocked if we're going to stick with the bot lab forever here. Malady is on the C lane position of Supreme Straits. I forgot to mention that is the map we're going to be playing on today, Supreme Straits version 1.4. And going for a res bot, that makes a lot of sense. Plenty of plants, trees, bushes, ferns, rocks, all sorts of goodies to eat up on this map specifically, which is just one of the many ways that you can stimulate your early game economy and jump up the tech tree really quickly. What are we going for here? So we've got quite a few constructors and quite a few res bots all planned at the moment. I would not be surprised if Malady has a build order in mind. We're going to be doing something very specific. Going to be going for some sort of very specific kind of cheese here, or maybe not a cheese per se, but just a strategy in general. Going to use this constructor to build that final metal extractor back here, that fourth metal extractor. And we're going to send these res bots across to eat up everything important here. Namely, the metal that's lying around on the ground, and then a whole bunch of trees. Very nicely done. Malady is going to be up against the Ricky Mavpiki, who appears to be a player of a somewhat newer origin. So how much can I critique them here for not having already gotten their third metal extractor up and into the water? Well, I don't want to nitpick on them, but all I'll say is if you look at what someone who is familiar with the game can do in this much time, all of these facilities up and running. We have a bot lab, we have 4 metal extractors, windmills, we have a bunch of res bots, commanders already working on more metal extractors, versus someone who is a little bit newer to the game and trying to figure out what they should be going for. You can see that the difference is stark. We do finally select the bot lab here. Our maroon player Nast has called it out here, said support him, newbie spotted. Maybe not the kindest way to point that out here, and not particularly helpful in and of itself. But it might be helpful in the sense that the team is going to be well aware of what exactly is going on over here. It's definitely a mismatch of skill levels. This looks a little bit more fair. We have Poldarn, 24 true skill, up against Matthias on the Northern Seas. And this is usually what we see, right? We see a bot lab kind of tucked into the corner, just barely trying to make it by. And then we see the naval lab for this player, the beachhead player, usually taken and well held for at least a decent amount of time. This is unfortunately going to give Malady, unfortunately for the red team, I should say, going to give Malady a tremendous boon, as they're not really going to have much in the way of any sort of contest, as this player is unfamiliar with sort of the basics of running on this map. For anybody who might be thinking to themselves, well, hey, that's kind of me. What should I be doing here? This is a great learning opportunity, right? So essentially you want to make sure that you get these 3 metal extractors up, get some solar panels, maybe 2, 3, 4 at the very maximum. 4 at the maximum. Start getting a bunch of windmills. Just queue up a huge swath of windmills. You're going to do that with shift and that's oh wait, hold on. I have to do this. Shift and alt. Yeah, there we go. No, shift There we go. Shift and Alt. Yeah, that's the right combo. It's difficult because my Shift and Alt and control keys are all mapped onto my mouse for control. But I don't use my mouse all the time. Sometimes I use a combination of my mouse and my keyboard. Anyways, a couple of Seekers have pushed through here from our purple player. That's going to be Jackal JKL, or Jackal Jekyll. And they've actually ravaged the economy centers of Poldarn. That's going to be really damaging. Yeah, Poldarn is going to have to sustain a navy off of 0 metal extractors. And as Navy is one of the most expensive armies that you can go for, yeah, that's definitely a bad position to be in here. Commander better get up onto the land. It's actually not metal that we're stalling on immediately. We do have a bit of an energy crisis over here, but it's certainly going to hurt. Meanwhile, more and more aggression coming through here from Poldarn. Sorry, from Jackal Jekyll. Jackal Jekyll. Dr. Jackal Jekyll and Hyde. Yeah, these Seekers are doing tons and tons of damage. Their existence is already justified based on the amount of damage they've done here to Poldarn, going to secure a huge advantage for Matthias. But still, any more damage that they can do on the other side of the map is always going to be justified. So cheap, so cheap. They're 85 metal apiece, 1,250 energy. That's actually fairly energy dense, but aside from that, relatively cheap. And any economic damage you can do is going to be well worth it here. Say, for instance, take out a bunch of windmills, take out some of these constructors, take out whatever you can. Certainly the amount of metal extractors they've taken out has justified their cost. Or the amount of metal that will be left behind when they inevitably go down on the other side of the map. But they're not going down quick. They're definitely getting a full scout out at the very least. Very least they're getting a scout out, although that's not the main thing here. T2 is out, and we're using a Fiend to clean up Seekers. It's a little bit overkill, but it's what you gotta do. Oh, I do notice a metal stall here, but we do have a T1 solar panel. Could click those over there and eat that up. I'd love to see that. We also have a commander. Oh, no, that's been eaten up already. Okay. Okay, we're all right then. Everything is all right. Malady is now finally getting a glance over here and seeing, oh, this player has not gotten into the water yet. Indeed, Richie Mavpichi. Somebody's going to have to tell me how I'm supposed to say this, because that feels ridiculous. Or if that is how I'm supposed to say it, I apologize for saying that sounds ridiculous. It's probably my American accent that just kind of butchers that completely. Very nice little push over here, a bit of counter-aggression as we move a couple of our red team Seekers across the map, and those manage to take out a huge bundle of energy converters as well as a ton of windmills for Immort, who is a frontline player, meaning that the front line is going to be significantly halted, at least for the time being. Yeah, catch a construction worker would not be bad either. Oh, we're not going to kill it though. 7% left on that, and that is a bit unfortunate because that would be a really nice pick. But we're instead going to focus on the eco center, and I guess that's not a bad trade there. Not a bad deal. Energy converters are highly explosive, and they are prone to setting each other off like fireworks in the night. Speaking of which, happy 4th of July to all my Americans out there. I know it's not a global holiday, so to speak, but I'm sure every American around the world is going to be having a nice day. Every American in Britain, in the UK, is definitely going to be having an even nicer day. I'm sure there's plenty of jokes to go around over there. I wonder what that's like. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what that Americans living in the UK culture is like, especially around 4th of July Day. I personally will be going to a nice parade. I've got some fireworks. It's going to be a great day. I'm super excited about it. We do have a Seeker in the backline here, still being annoying to Malady. Tons and tons of issues. Meanwhile, Malady is unconcerned. Malady is just marching the commander all the way across here. Very nicely done. Do love to see it. Massive chain reaction on all these wind turbines, but it will cost the Seeker its life. For what it's worth, I mean, that was enough damage to justify the Seeker alone. But it's not going to be enough damage to critically hinder Malady, who has spread out the wind turbines in such a way that they don't all fatally chain react off of each other and cause a terrible, terrible rest of Malady's day at the very least. T2 cons for frontline players would be greatly appreciated. That's one of the keys to winning Supreme Straits, is making sure that if you're in the back line, or even on the sidelines here, I guess what we might call it over in these positions here, getting those T2s up to your front line free of charge and as quick as possible is absolutely critical. Cannot overstate how important it is to get that up and running, because as soon as those are up and your teammate has them, they can step well into that T2 range here. Printer, armored field engineer. Whoa. Ah, interesting. We appear to have the extended Cortex T2 units out and available at the moment. I did not notice that at the beginning of this game, but it appears that they were playing with slightly modified settings. If I'm correct, I believe that the only change that makes is it adds a couple of T2 constructors here. So you can see there's the Forge, which is like it's like a butler. It's like the Armada butler. There's a Printer, which is an armored field engineer. Interesting. And we have a Heat Tiger. So I suppose it's just a battle tank, but it fires heat beams instead of plasma projectiles. Interesting, very interesting. We'll have to see how that comes into play here. There's a big army of Centurions building over here. We're not really using all of our resources at the moment. We do have a metal storage and an energy storage, so we haven't leaked anything, but we do have almost 2,000 in the bank, a little less. And we're printing units at a decent rate. But will it be enough to hold on against Malady, who has surely got something planned here? There's transports moving, a couple of constructor turrets all over the place here, going to be trying to help out. Looks like this constructor turret was just a little bit too far away to help with these buildings over here. This is what we see out of these really high true skill players, is they can micro constructors to very efficient degrees. We're getting build tower mobility micro, where we have an air lab here to build all that. We have a Cortex bot lab. It looks like we will be teching into Cortex economy, which is always a good idea. It's slightly more efficient, just barely, but it is slightly more efficient overall. And yeah, definitely worthwhile. We've also got the advanced energy converter up, or the advanced geothermal plant up, I mean. A couple of these bad boys are having a bad time trying to figure out how to eat these plants over here. Maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't. They're not sure. The Mauser have hit the front line, and they are ravaging these T1 units. They don't stand a chance. The Rocketeers, the Shell Shockers, every single one of them is going to go down here. Oh, but we don't want to move the Mauser in right next to the tanks. The tanks are going to struggle to take them down, but you know, it's not that big of a struggle. It's a medium to light struggle, if anything. Excellent D-guns, by the way, from Immort over there. I did see those. I'm just curious if we're going to see anything over here. For some reason, we have decided to attack command all of our units on the beach over here. Interesting to see the mind of a noob. They always have interesting plans. Always some interesting plans. Malady does go up to that T2 constructor level with the Cortex units, so that was the plan after all. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a... Oh, we're gonna go... Oh, wow, okay, we're just going straight into an advanced fusion reactor. Well, you know what, I guess we do have this advanced geothermal plant, which is not to be undercounted. They produce a ton of energy. So yeah, actually, I think this is probably a decent idea here. Continuing to increase our build power, also a good idea. Never want to be behind when that build power scaling starts to become necessary here. We are putting a little space between these as well to make sure that if they are bombed or harassed or shot at in any way, they are going to eventually be the chain reaction will be broken, which is just one more thing that you can always improve on. We are running a lab up here. We've got the build power to run a lab, so maybe we'll see some hovercraft. We've got all sorts of different things happening, but whoa, looks like Malady is going for that forward bot lab. So this is the plan here. We're going to be investing in this forward lab. We do have the radar jammer that has been built in order to cloak the presence of these units over here. So despite there not being a radar over here, actually I'll switch to this. Yes, so even if there was a radar here is what I meant to say for Ricky Mothpicky, we'll call you Ricky. Despite not having a radar here for Ricky, there still would be no detection over this area, as Malady has already got that got that radio jammer up and running. Really nice distribution of resources here. You can see that early game harassment coming into play. We finally have T2 support coming out from NAST in the backline, but it's so late into the game, like really, really late into the game. We already had those T2 Mauser up and running on the front line here. We do see some of those Heat Tigers. Very nice. But yeah, you can see that those just contributed immensely to the speed of this here. Likewise, we have Matthias with a dominating control over the naval regions here. We also have a T2 constructor, or a T2 lab rather, in the back here that was used to make a T2 constructor to upgrade all these metal extractors. Ideally, we would have just gotten a T2 constructor from somebody in our backlane, but apparently that was not possible or did not happen, and so we ended up having to go into T2 in the backline here. Wouldn't mind eating up that T2 lab and just making the one constructor and then refolding that metal back into this T2 naval yard, since those are very expensive, 3,200 metal. But it's hard to gripe too much. Here we have the Garpikes moving under the waters and across the seas in order to try and do some damage. Those hounds that were brought out were trying to clean them up. They did spot them at the very least, so it's not going to be a huge surprise. Malady is getting ready though. Wow, actually Malady went for the T2 lab over here. And we've got a couple of sharpshooters firing blindly into the night. We're concerned about air, apparently. That's on Ricky's mind. I'm taking it a little bit easy on Ricky, not critiquing too harshly, because clearly they're a new player. I mean, it's good that they were concerned about air. Commando was attempted here. It lands up on this hill. That's a bit of an odd place for it. It definitely can't do anything up there. And in some sense, it's been shut down. Commander explosion wipes out all of those pawns here for Ricky, but now this base is in a whole lot of trouble. Ricky probably incredibly confused as to how these super strong units have ended up on their beach somehow. Really, really good stuff coming out from Malady here, showing us one of the unique ways that we can play this game. Commander is sneaking past the defenses. Yep, no radar over here, so the commander is completely invisible. In fact, there is no radar in the backline whatsoever. The only radar available is a single radar unit moving down from the north. Malady might be able to outpace it, though. We'll have to see. It doesn't look like it. Malady's commander dot is eventually exposed here, as luckily this radar tank was sent over in this direction. Otherwise, that commander dot would have been very, very easy to spy that entire time. Commando will be placed up on this hill. Commandos can no longer build those mines, those landmines, which is a great nerf, because they were really able to do way more damage in the backline than they ultimately should have been able to. So I think I think that realistically was probably for the better. Commando will be building a... Oh, that's odd. Never mind, they still can build their landmines, you just have to select it from the utility tab, I suppose. That's odd. That must be a bug, because I don't think they're supposed to be able to do that. Meanwhile, Malady has been found, the commander has been found anyway. Sharpshooters here trying to shoot down these laser tanks, these Heat Tigers. I do like these things, they look really cool. I love those little batteries on the side of their heads. Oh, they sort of vent fire out the sides too. Look how cool that is. Pew, pew. Wow, those are a really cool unit. Yeah, I like that a lot. Very neat. Very good stuff. Looks like the commando did finish the radar jammer up on this hill. Not sure where it went, but it sure is gone now. Now, support from the friends has been quite huge. Very, very valuable. We have a bit of an eco center coming up on the outer aisles here from Malady. That's going to be nice. We really need to see some sort of land-based transition out of our player Matthias back here. Somehow we are going back into a T2 lab. I'm not sure what happened there. Some sort of strange reallocation of resources meant that we got rid of our T2 lab only to repurchase it again. Not the end of the world, surely, but a bit odd. Meanwhile, a bunch of these printers are out on the front line. They can't do anything, right? They're like a They're like a... I don't know, they're just a mobile build turret. Yeah, build power of 200. That's almost exactly what they are. This unit is almost complete, though. I mean, it has a full animation and everything. This looks like it's a very well put together unit. It's not just cobbled together off of some of the other units, like a lot of the Legion stuff is, for instance. Huge row of sharpshooters here. This is going to be very difficult to deal with. The sharpshooters, and we've also got a tick spam, a very low tick spam, but that's really all you need. Three of these labs printing out ticks. Yeah, it's not going to take much more than that to give you the vision that you need for these sharpshooters to go to work, as you can see here, while they tear apart these T1 units. The welders are also moving forward. Very difficult to deal with. Those welders can be an incredible pain. They're so tanky. They really can't take a hit. Perfect cover for the sharpshooters, too, who continually fade in and out of existence as they cloak and uncloak here. Malady is getting a little bit tired of this geothermal battery. He probably wasn't accounting for that. That's a very rare move. We don't see that very often. There's also a bulwark here, which is going to slow this down quite a bit. So that is nice. Whoa, bombing run coming out here as a bunch of these blizzards do push into this base. They take out all of the energy converters, I'm guessing was what was over here. No, those would have lit everything up. Must have just been the build power. Must have just been a whole bunch of build power here from our tan player, King Guts 11. This flak turret is putting in a lot of work repelling this assault, but already the damage has been done, so we don't need to sacrifice any more of these turrets, or any more of these gunships, rather. We can just go right on ahead with planning another bombing run. The sharpshooter advance is a slow but steady one. As long as these guys are firing, they're getting value out, as you can see by these units that are just flying away into the air every single time you hear that satisfying click out of those sharpshooters. Super magnetic Gauss accelerator cannon. I don't know if that's right. I'm just stringing together a whole bunch of sci-fi words. I figure if you just put enough sci-fi words together, eventually you're going to have a sentence that means something roughly equivalent to what you're hoping to achieve. I'm pretty stoked about these laser tanks. 665 metal, and they're pretty tanky. They're a lot closer to a bull, which is nice because that's really what we needed. Cortex Tiger tank is really, really disappointing. So it's the same metal, but you get a laser tank. 665. Is it the exact same cost? 665, 10,000? Yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah, I'd take the laser tanks over the regular tanks any day. I think the precision of the laser definitely pays off for what you get out of it. Meanwhile, another commando is moving in here, but that flak turret is still up and active, and so it can do a lot of damage, and indeed it will, as it shoots down this commando. Commando does still manage to make it into the back line, though, and it will get to work with its rapid-fire plasma blaster. I'm really curious if you can build these landmines, though, because you're certainly not supposed to be able to. Must be some sort of glitch if you're able to. Mr. Rooster says, Malady, please don't put me on YouTube. Unfortunately, Mr. Rooster, look at a nice big look at you right there. You're going right on the tubes, my friend. Malady has completely invaded the southern flank, and what else is there to look at but the swarm that Malady is pumping out at this point? We can analyze what exactly the composition is here. It's welders, snipers, and radar jammer bots for support, and then the tick swarm for reconnaissance. Geothermal plasma battery has quite the range. It can lay down some pretty impressive DACA on a lot of these beasts over here. It will start firing at some of these welders, which is very nice. But the slow, methodic advancement will eventually win out here, I believe, as all of these units get picked off one by one by this sniper fire. Somehow abandoned. Oh, it was revived. That makes sense. I was gonna say, I mean, Malady did go for that T2 Cortex economy back here. Brutally efficient economy. Making sure to maximize resource potential as much as possible. But also, I would have been a little surprised if we had moved T2 Cortex all the way up here in order to build those T2 Cortex units. That would have been something else entirely. Aggression on the front line has halted because everyone is a little bit worried about what's going on down south. Malady is currently 1v1, 2, 3, 4, 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1v5ing. 6? Wait, 1? There's 3 colors here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 5. Okay, 1v5ing. 1v5ing. The enemy team down here, which is most of this team, as 2 players have dropped out, bringing this down to a 6 versus 8. Yeah, Malady's showing us exactly how dangerous that can be. It really should be up to the team here to just continue to sweep through. There should be no contest. A little bit of voice crack there. No contest. I'm sweating bullets here because it makes me so scared to play against Malady every time I see gameplay like this. It just makes me worry for all the poor fools that are ever going to end up in a Malady lobby. It looks like there was some counter-aggression here as these starlights have bursted through a whole lot of this. That's very nicely done. Those starlights are the counterpart to the sharpshooter. They're the vehicle equivalent, I guess you might call it. And they do good work. They can outrange the snipers, I believe, anyway. They have a range of 950 versus the snipers of 900. So just barely, but it's significant, and they can definitely do good work. Uh-oh. Malady's actually looking like he's being overrun. I mean, it's not surprising when you have this many people teaming up against you. You have 4 players effectively streaming units directly into your base. Yeah, you're going to have your work cut out for you, but man, what is the team doing to capitalize on this? It looks like, at least for the time being, we're just going to be pushing some units in here. We do have some sharpshooters to try and do a little bit of damage to these tanks, Mausers, all sorts of other stuff over here. That's exactly what we need to see. Dreadnought also brought out to try and, again, lay down some oppressive plasma fire. Those cannon shots are very, very damaging, but it will go down to a starlight. M-Frackman. M-Frackman. M-Frackman? Anyway. Hyperfixating on that name here. We do have a huge bombing run as well, being produced by Mod XP. M0DXP? MODXP? Modixp? Bombers are headed in. What are we targeting here? We're going all the way back for Silver Soul. We're not going to hit any of these fusion reactors or this massive windmill farm. No. We're only going for the juiciest of energy converters back here at Silver Soul's base. Frankly speaking, I think that was a terrible bombing run. I really think they could have done a whole lot better. Eventually, Malady will be pushed back, going to be forced to adopt a different strategy as they're eventually, yeah, they're not going to be able to continue the aggression on the enemy motherland. Not a problem though. It just means that we'll just tech up a little bit harder. We'll continue egoing in the back line, and yeah, that'll be a nice way to guarantee that we have the resources necessary to continue this game furthermore. We do, of course, still have the naval construction yard up and running, so we can always build more build power over here, which is what we like to see. These builders are hard at work putting up these build towers, construction turrets rather, and they're going to do good work here. Malady, busy microing this single constructor over here, has built tons and tons of energy converters. This is a massive amount of energy converters, 33 energy converters, and I guess we have the fusion reactors to pay for it. Yeah, we're up to 10 fusion reactors, so it's a 3-to-1 ratio if my math is correct, and we are going right into the T2 lab here. Don't hate that one bit. Not even a second before we put that T2 lab up, and we're gonna get a T2 constructor up as well. Probably gonna be looking at going into the T3 gantry. Nope, looks like we're gonna upgrade the metal extractors first and foremost. Can't blame you, but it feels like we're a little bit past the metal extractor era here. We've already got 500 metal per second. We are currently 27 minutes into this game, and yeah, I feel like maybe we're ready to go into some T3 more than ever. I wonder what Malady is up to. Let's check on the player camera here. Malady is currently microlink some build power in the back line, so we have this T2 lab up and running. We're thinking about building something else. We can see the vision radius of Malady. We're going to build some jammer ships, get those across. We're going to build some anti-air ships, apparently, and we've also got plans for an anti-nuke ship, which is very important. Malady is actually hilariously exposed to a nuke. It would be devastating if a nuke were to land in his backline. That'd be quite unfortunate. Wipe out most of the economy for the blue team, or at least a significant chunk of it. Meanwhile, Malady is thinking about some over here. We're going to go for some more of these T2 energy converters. Alright, that's enough of the player camera. I want to look around the map elsewhere. T1 spam has started on the other side of the map where we're not sure exactly what we want to go for, and I'm just so surprised that Matthias has not gone for any sort of amphibious unit here. Certainly would have expected that we see some platypus coming out, that we see some of those amphibious tanks coming out, that we see something along the lines of that, but rather we're just going to contribute more and more units to the front line. I mean, it's helpful, surely, but it isn't exactly the most efficient way that we can collapse on this team. I mean, imagine, for instance, we had a bunch of those amphibious tanks rolling up the side of this map. You could sweep away all of the T1 unit production over here, and that would be miles more useful to the front line than just contributing more and more swarm. Looks like at this point, Malady is happy with pumping out an epoch or two. We're going to move those out onto the map somewhere. We are probably going to besiege the, yeah, it looks like we're going to besiege the light pink player here. Light gunships have been brought out. It's bizarre to see gunships brought out. These light gunships, anyway. Those are very odd choice to bring out, especially when we're already in the T2 stage here. There were some roughnecks for accompaniment, but I don't think that was worth it. I don't think they really got their value out, and I don't think you ever are going to get your value out on a bunch of gunships. Not in a game this late. Wow, we've actually got a nice little navy coming up here. We are spending our resources, so that's really nice to see. Yep, we're just going to build some more and more epochs here. We're just concerned with more firepower. We do have these anti-air ships, the Dragon Slayers, which are very nice. It's this weird jump in the Navy. I've talked about this before, but I'll reiterate. The naval anti-air jumps from being like pathetic, just really abysmal, all the way up to being some of the best anti-air in the game. So it's really difficult to know when you should invest in that, right? Because you have to invest tons and tons of resources into that early anti-air versus fairly limited, at least for T2, resources into anti-air here. I mean, it is still 1,000 units for one of these, 1,000 metal rather, for one of these Dragon Slayers, so I wouldn't exactly call it cheap. Looks like the flagship has found its way across the battlefield, and it will start raining down long-range Daka Supreme on these fusion reactors, trying to get a juicy connection against M. Frackman. Huge bombing run there, very nicely done. That does wipe out all of Ancient's economic centers, as now all of their energy is going to slowly drain down to 131 energy while we're trying to operate a bunch of beamers. Good luck with that. Those are very energy-heavy turrets, and they're going to stall real quick. The Green Swarm, with that out of the way, is going to have a phenomenal time marching right through, and we're going to see more and more damage coming up. Meanwhile, the fusion reactors do light up to the Epoch ships that were built here by our very own hero himself, the Malady. My question is, if Malady resurrects a commander, does the new commander also get a little Viking hat? If he picks up a bunch of enemy commanders, can he hand out Viking hats left and right? Questions we may never know. Tune down the music just a second. I've been having a lot of issues with the music recently. Sometimes it's too loud, sometimes it's too quiet. Just can't figure it out. Silver Soul's commander is getting bold here. It's walking around with a bunch of these printers, the armored field engineers, and I guess armored isn't a half-baked description. They really can take a punch. Wow. Surviving even a commander explosion at relatively close range is pretty impressive. Malady very concerned for the aerial retaliation, and I think that's a concern worth warranting. Certainly, these torpedo bombers can do devastating work against those against an unguarded capital ship. Capital ship do have 2 light anti-air launchers, so they will eventually pick apart any of those any half-baked attempts on their lives. But certainly, with 3 of them in tow, it would take quite a lot in order to bring them down. Meanwhile, Malady, with an air force of their own, substantial air force of their own, we do have these T2 units. Oh, but it looks like while I was focusing on Malady's economic centers, the red team has decided that their fronts have fallen and the rear will not be long to follow, and decides to tap out of this game. Life is pain. I hate. That's how it goes when you're playing with the Malady, especially when you're playing against the Malady. Just too good at the game, but a pro to watch nonetheless. And I'm absolutely thrilled whenever I get to see a chance, or whenever I get a chance rather, to see one of these Malady games. I will leave a link to this replay down below in the comment section in case you want to check this one out for yourself, in case you want to study the build order of a pro like Malady. And aside from that, I hope you had a phenomenal time watching. I know I sure did. And I will see you. Oh my goodness, look at that. Sorry, interrupting my own outro here, just to look at this crazy eco scaling on behalf of Malady. Wow. Miles and miles above everyone else here. But anyway, like I was saying, thanks a ton for watching, and I will see you in the next video.